I am going to read you the article, The Ecosystem of the Forest. Listen while I read, and listen while I explain what it means. Paragraph 1. Even if it doesn't look like it, all living things constantly interact with their environment. For instance, every time you take a breath, you get oxygen from the air, and every time you breathe back out, you release carbon dioxide into the world around you. Both oxygen and carbon dioxide are vital gases that different organisms can use. You, a human, need the oxygen for energy and need to get rid of the carbon dioxide because it's a waste matter. Stop. Listen while I explain. This paragraph is talking about how we get oxygen from the air. Oxygen is important so we can survive. When we breathe out, we get rid of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is not good for people. But plants need carbon dioxide so they can make energy for themselves. Now listen to paragraph 2. Just like us, all other organisms take something from their environment while putting waste back into it. When several kinds of organisms interact with each other in one particular area, it's called an ecosystem. In the forest, living beings, plants, animals, insects, fungi, and bacteria all interact with each other and with the soil and water to form forest-specific kind of ecosystem. Stop. Listen while I explain. This is all about how all the different organisms in a place all interact with each other, meaning they all are important to each other. So the plants and animals and the insects and the bacteria are all doing things together, like eating each other, for example, or the plants interact with the air and with the soil and water so that they can survive. Now listen to paragraph 3. So, how does it work? Every organism in the forest can be put in one of 3 categories. Depending on which category they're in, they'll interact with each other and the forest resources in a different way. The categories are producer, decomposer, and consumer. Let's look at each one. Stop. Listen while I explain. There are 3 categories of organisms: producers, decomposers, and consumers. That means there's 3 different kinds. There are 3 different kinds of animals that we will learn about. Now listen to paragraph 4. Paragraph 4. Producers are living things that can make their own energy out of non-living resources all around them, like oxygen and water. They're also known as autotrophs. Autotrophs do not need to kill anything in order to eat. Plants and algae, for example, are producers. In the forest ecosystem, the trees, shrubs, and moss are all producers. They turn water and sunlight into the energy they need to live and grow through a process called photosynthesis. And remember that carbon dioxide you expelled as waste matter? Well, for plants, carbon dioxide is a vital gas. It is used to help aid with the process of photosynthesis. So, stop and listen. This paragraph is talking about producers. Producers do not need to eat. They use oxygen and water. They use water and sun and carbon dioxide to make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. Paragraph 5. Listen while I read paragraph 5. Like producers, decomposers don't need to kill another living being to obtain food. However, they differ from producers because they still need to get nutrients from other organisms or from waste matter expelled by other organisms. Usually, they eat dead animals and plants. Bacteria and certain kinds of fungi are examples of decomposers. They're very important because they help break down dead organisms. They actually provide energy to living ones. Stop. Listen while I explain. This paragraph is all about decomposers. Decomposers get their nutrients from dead organisms. So they don't have to kill anything. They eat animals or plants that are already dead. Now listen to paragraph 6. Consumers are the living beings that need to eat other organisms to survive. You may have heard about this group as being at the top of the food chain. They're also known as heterotrophs. Humans and heterotrophs who eat both plants and animals to live. In the forest, a deer eating plants, a wolf hunting deer, a hawk eating rodents, and rodents eating both bugs and plants are all examples of the ecosystem's consumers. As you can see, carnivores and omnivores and herbivores are all different kinds of heterotrophs. It doesn't matter which kind of organism they eat, as long as they eat other organisms to survive, they are consumers, heterotrophs. Stop. Listen while I explain. Consumers are also called heterotrophs. They eat plants and animals to live. They have to kill a plant or kill an animal to be able to live. They're called consumers. Listen to paragraph 7. So, now that you know each type of player, how does the ecosystem cycle work? Well, when an organism dies and its body decomposes, bacteria go to work. Let's imagine the dead organism is a deer. Bacteria obtain energy from the deer's body, while helping it decompose efficiently. When the deer's body breaks down because of the work done by the bacteria, it returns to the soil. This is important for the earth because the carcass actually gives vital energy back to the environment. It makes the soil rich in nutrients for plants to grow there. Grasses, flowers, and trees then grow in that soil and get the energy they need, along with energy from the sun and water. The water also filters through the soil, which is necessary for the forest flowers and trees to be able to take it up through their roots. Heterotrophs, like deer, eat those plants to get their energy, and other heterotrophs, like wolves, eat the deer for their energy. So basically, stop and listen. This paragraph is all about how the animals and plants interact. So it's talking about how they eat each other or how some bacteria help break down a dead animal's body, but all the organisms in an ecosystem are important to each other. 8. Listen to paragraph 8. As you can see, in a forest ecosystem or any kind of ecosystem, every being interacts with other beings. What's important to remember is that each part of the ecosystem is as important as another. Without soil, there'd be no plants. With no plants, there'd be no deer, rodents, or certain kinds of insects. And without tiny microbes, remember the decomposers? Animals and plants would die without their bodies being returned to the earth. Because forests cover about a quarter of the total land surface of the world, keeping their ecology balanced is important for the entire earth. Stop and listen. Now this paragraph was all about how everything in the ecosystem is important to each other. So plants need soil, deer need plants, and bigger animals need deer so that they will survive. Good job listening. Listen again if you still have time.